4 people survived the crash. At least 50 more could have. On August 12, 1985, Japan Airlines Flight 123 slammed into a mountain ridge at 346 miles per hour. The Boeing 747 disintegrated across a mile of forest. 520 people died. But Yumi Okiai, a flight attendant, woke up in the wreckage. She heard voices. Dozens of them. People calling for help in the darkness. Moaning. Crying for water. She heard a child's voice say, "I hurt. Help me." Then, over hours, the voices stopped. One by one. Yumi survived. So did Keiko Kawakami, age 12. And Hiroko Yashizaki and her 8-year-old daughter Mikiko. 4 survivors. 4 people pulled from the twisted metal 14 hours after impact. Here's what makes this the most disturbing aviation disaster in history. The crash happened at 6:56 p.m. Rescuers didn't reach the site until 8:30 a.m. the next morning. Nearly 14 hours. And during that long night, survivors died waiting. Japan's military located the wreckage just 20 minutes after impact. U.S. military forces offered immediate helicopter rescue. Japan refused. What happened in those 12 hours turned the worst single aircraft accident ever recorded into something far darker. Flight 123 took off from Tokyo's Haneda Airport at 6:12 p.m. Destination, Osaka. Flight time, 54 minutes. 509 passengers. 15 crew. A routine domestic hop. Captain Masami Takahama had 12,423 flight hours. First Officer Yutaka Sasaki, 3,963 hours. Flight Engineer Hiroshi Fukuda, 9,831 hours. The 747SR was built for short high-frequency routes. More seats, reinforced for repeated pressurization cycles. This particular aircraft, JA-8119, was 11 years old. It had 25,030 flights on the airframe. At 6:24 p.m., 12 minutes after takeoff, the plane reached 24,000 feet. Then passengers heard a loud bang. The rear pressure bulkhead exploded. The entire tail section, vertical stabilizer, rudder, all 4 hydraulic systems ripped away. The auxiliary power unit tore off. The aircraft lost all directional control. But here's what nobody knew at the time. 7 years earlier, JA-8119 had a tail strike. Boeing repaired the pressure bulkhead. But the repair was faulty. A single row of rivets instead of the required double row. For 7 years, that bulkhead flexed with every pressurization cycle. 12,319 cycles. Each one weakening the repair. On August 12, 1985, on cycle 12,320, it failed. Explosive decompression blasted the tail off at 346 miles per hour. The 747 became a 190-ton glider with no steering. Captain Takahama had 32 minutes to do the impossible. But what he didn't know was even worse. The cockpit voice recorder captured everything. Pull up. Pull up. The ground proximity warning screamed. Captain Takahama fought the controls. With no hydraulics, the only way to steer was engine thrust. Speed up the right engines, the plane banks left. Speed up the left, it banks right. But a 747 wasn't designed for this. The aircraft porpoised. Up and down in wild oscillations. Passengers slammed into the ceiling. Flight attendants couldn't stand. At 6:25 p.m., Tokyo Air Traffic Control asked, "What is the nature of your emergency?" Takahama replied, "Rapid decompression. Request immediate, request return to Haneda." His voice was calm. Professional. Inside the cabin, hell. Oxygen masks dropped. The rear lavatories were gone. Passengers could see daylight through the hole where the tail used to be. The plane climbed to 24,000 feet, then dove to 9,000. Then climbed again. Takahama couldn't control altitude. He could barely control direction. For 32 minutes, the crew tried everything. They used wing flaps, landing gear, differential thrust. They managed to turn the plane back toward Tokyo. But the oscillations grew worse. The 747 was heading toward Mount Takamagahara. At 6:47 p.m., a passenger named Hiratsugu Kawaguchi wrote a note to his family. "I'm scared. I don't want to die. Please take care of the children." He sealed it in his pocket. At 6:56 p.m., the right wing clipped a ridge. The aircraft cartwheeled across the mountain. The fuselage broke into 3 pieces. The center section, where Yumi Okiai sat, remained partially intact. That's why she survived. But here's the part that haunts every investigator. The crash was survivable for more than 4 people. Yumi Okiai regained consciousness in total darkness. She was trapped in her seat. Her legs were pinned. But she could breathe. And she could hear dozens of voices. People calling for help. A man's voice, please, water. A woman's voice, my daughter, where is my daughter? A child's voice, small and weak, it hurts. Mommy, it hurts. Yumi couldn't see them. Couldn't reach them. She just listened as the voices continued through the night. At 7:16 p.m., just 20 minutes after impact, a Japanese self-defense force C-130 located the wreckage. The pilot radioed the coordinates. Mount Osutaka, northwest slope. He could see fire. Debris. The unmistakable shape of a shattered 747. He requested immediate helicopter rescue. The request was denied. The military said the terrain was too difficult. Too dangerous for a night operation. At 7:30 p.m., a U.S. Air Force helicopter from Yokota Air Base located the site. The crew offered to begin rescue operations immediately. They had night vision. Trained pararescue jumpers. Equipment designed for exactly this scenario. Japan's defense agency refused the offer. They said Japanese forces would handle it. But they didn't. Not that night. Through the darkness, Yumi heard the voices grow weaker. The man asking for water stopped calling. The woman searching for her daughter went silent. The child's cries faded. By midnight, Yumi heard only a few voices. By 3 a.m., she heard almost none. When rescuers finally arrived at 8:30 a.m. 14 hours after the crash, they found 4 survivors. Yumi Okiai. Keiko Kawakami, 12, who had been traveling alone. Hiroko Yashizaki, 34. And her daughter Mikiko, 8. Mikiko's father and sister, seated beside her, were dead. Rescuers found others who had clearly survived the initial impact. Passengers still strapped in seats. Bodies that showed no massive trauma. Medical examiners later confirmed at least 50 passengers survived the crash itself. They died from shock, exposure, and bleeding. Injuries that were survivable with immediate medical care. If rescuers had arrived in 1 hour instead of 14, dozens could have lived. But they didn't arrive. And here's why. Japan's government never gave a clear explanation. The official report blamed difficult terrain and nighttime conditions. But the U.S. helicopter crews who located the site said it was accessible. They could have landed rescue teams within the hour. Why did Japan refuse? Some investigators believe bureaucracy. Multiple agencies, self-defense forces, fire department, police couldn't coordinate. Each waited for the others to take command. Others suggest something darker. The crash site was near a U.S. military base. Some theorize Japan didn't want American forces on the mountain for political reasons. National pride over human lives. Whatever the reason, the delay killed dozens. Yumi Okiai told investigators she heard voices until dawn. People who survived the unsurvivable, a 747 breaking apart on a mountain at 346 miles per hour only to die waiting for help that came too late. The Japan Transport Safety Board investigation focused on the faulty bulkhead repair. Boeing paid settlements. New inspection protocols were created. But the 14-hour delay was never prosecuted. No one was held accountable for the rescue that didn't come. Today, a memorial stands on Mount Osutaka. 520 names are carved in stone. Every August 12th, families climb the mountain to remember. They bring water bottles and leave them at the base of the memorial. Because 39 years ago, voices in the darkness asked for water, and no one came. If you want more stories where the system failed the people it was supposed to protect, this channel investigates what others won't. The next case is even harder to believe. Send this to someone who needs to hear it. Then subscribe for a new dark truth every day.